Tonight on News 5 Live, a pandemic on but no one in charge. How the post that just yesterday had 2 directors suddenly became empty. Plus, the first batch is here. A donation from a CARICOM nation is welcomed ammunition in the fight against COVID-19. These stories and the shocking financial report from the Hull Chan Marine Reserve coming up in tonight's newscast. Hello. Okay, sure, I'll be there. Hello?
Hi, Mommy. When are you coming home? I really miss you.
Hearing the voice of our loved ones can always lift our spirits and make us feel whole again. With Smart's twice as nice promotion, prepaid customers who make 5 minutes worth of national calls on Sundays can enjoy 50% off. Top double on all national calls for the rest of the day. Call your loved ones and enjoy half off all day long. Smart, bringing people together.
If we are only as strong as our families, businesses, institutions, and the communities that surround us, then by giving businesses the power to grow, entrepreneurs the ability to expand, and by giving our families the right to own something, the Belize Bank gives you the power to build a nation, our nation. We are stronger together. The Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
Contraband is illegal importation of fruits and vegetables or any commodities entering the country from an illegal port of entry. Contraband fruits and vegetables do not follow required sanitary protocols and may contain pests which can endanger agricultural industries, livelihood, and can result in the exposure to coronavirus. When purchasing these goods, you place yourselves and the lives of your loved ones at great risk. We advise the public to report any illicit activities to the nearest customs or Baja office. The Belize Marketing and Development Corporation, the Belize Agriculture Health Authority, and Customs Department encourage you to say no to contraband and buy local.
Belizeans will once again go to the polls on March 3rd for municipal elections 2021. Channel 5 will bring you all-day live coverage from all 9 municipalities. Our nationwide correspondents and in-studio analysts will provide you with up-to-date reports and commentary from 6 a.m. until the last vote is counted and results declared. Municipal Elections 2021, Wednesday, March 3rd, live on Channel 5 and on our Facebook and YouTube pages.
This newscast is brought to you by the Belize Bank Limited. Our country, your bank.
Good evening. Welcome to News 5 Live for Wednesday, February 24th. I am Marlene Cuellar. Belize is in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, and yet there's an empty chair at the Office of the Director of Health Services. News 5 has confirmed that there is no DHS at the Ministry of Health and Wellness as of today. That is because Dr. Marvin Manzanero was placed on administrative leave effective Tuesday, and within 24 hours, the acting DHS, Dr. Melissa Diaz-Musa, returned to Belize City to her substantive post as Deputy Regional Health Manager and Primary Health Coordinator. It was a decision taken by Dr. Diaz-Musa as the saga of the embattled Dr. Manzanero continues to play out. President of the Association of Public Service Senior Managers, Sharon Fraser, says a meeting of the Public Services Commission last Friday addressed the issue of 2 directors of health services showing up to work since February 15th.
Yes, the commission did meet on Friday, thank God, and a number of issues were addressed. And I believe one of those issues would have been the issue surrounding, or some issues surrounding the DHS. I do not know, I know that no decision was taken to appoint anybody else, so that it means that if the decision was that they deferred it or they did anything as it relates to it, it means that the substantive holder remains as the DHS, which is Dr. Manzanero. So until the commission would have made a decision contrary to that, he remains the Director of Health Services.
It is not known at this point how long the Director of Health Services post will be vacant, because it depends on how quickly the review of Dr. Manzanero's case takes. Void aside, the Association of Public Service Senior Managers says that the government is attacking the reputation of Dr. Manzanero, who for the greater part of 2020 was the Ministry of Health's public face of the fight against the pandemic. Yet, according to a letter issued to the DHS on Tuesday, allegations of misconduct are being leveled against him for not agreeing to use the services of the Belize Agricultural Health Authority for PCR testing back in April 2020. The letter says that his failure contributed to the number of people who died as a result of COVID-19. Chief Magistrate Sharon Fraser, who is the president of the APSSM, says if blame is to be assigned, there is plenty to go around.
As far as the COVID response is concerned, there was a National Oversight Committee. So Dr. Manzanero wasn't making decisions, as far as I am aware. Every week there was decisions coming out of the Oversight Committee that was co-chaired by the then Prime Minister and the now Prime Minister. So that it is them, that committee, that was making decisions. So is it that no, this blame that is being placed on Dr. Manzanero, are we going to overreach now to go for the co-chairs for the Oversight Committee and blame them as well for the deaths? Because they were the ones who were making decisions. So it concerns me. I'm not sure if the decision makers are considering the long-reaching effect that their decisions are having, will have. Okay, so it is that they maybe, I don't know, but based on everything I'm seeing, did not want to work with Dr. Manzanero. But does that mean because he refused to step down, you're now going to spoil his reputation? You're going to build a case against him? And even if it is he did not accept, just say he didn't. This would have happened in April. He would have been acting as DHS for and on behalf of the government of Belize. Is Dr. Manzanero guilty of those border jumpers? Those persons who decide to have house parties? Those persons who decide to ignore the COVID regulations that existed? Is that what we're blaming him for? I don't know. These are questions I think the general public need to consider. But that is from the point of view of looking at it from a wider perspective.
The president of the APSSM says that according to the public service regulations, there is a limited period of time for an allegation of misconduct to be brought against a public officer. The letter she saw refers to April 2020, which is 10 months ago. Sharon Fraser says that due process has not been followed from the onset.
I, and definitely APSSM, cannot tell this administration or any other administration who they are to work with. But I am maintaining it is about due process. It would have been fairly easy for proper consultation, and this government could have gotten what they wanted and gotten who they want to work with. They said they were doing restructuring, pulling the Ministry of the Public Service so that in fact they could look at it, where they could have created an avenue to ensure that Dr. Manzanero was not disenfranchised in any way, because it has been done. The Ministry of the Public Service should have already stepped in to see, let us see what is happening. Act as a mediator and intervene to find out what is happening. Now everybody now is looking at Dr. Manzanero, whether he's convicted or not, that somebody to hold him responsible for the deaths from COVID-19 that occurred in Belize. Or he contributed, to the deaths that occurred as a result of COVID-19. So he gave them the virus. He gave them the virus. He exposed them. So it's amazing. It's amazing. This is really amazing to me. I'm waiting to see how they're going to prove this misconduct. Misconduct is a strong word, and then not just that it's a strong word, but attach it to the deaths.
Widely circulating on social media is that Sakut's villagers are ready to take to Belmopan to protest in support of what's been happening to Dr. Marvin Manzanero. But Dr. Manza is not the only person being affected by what is widely perceived to be a concerted effort to have him removed as DHS. Since December 7th, Dr. Melissa Diaz-Musa had been tapped by the Public Service Ministry to become the Acting Director of Health Services. While that contract is to end on March 7th, Dr. Diaz-Musa has already vacated the post due to the difficult circumstances currently surrounding the DHS role. She will continue to facilitate the vaccine rollout and COVID-19 response. Diaz-Musa was instrumental in the COVID-19 battle in Belize, reducing the positivity rate over the past few months from 75% down to 0.94%. APSSM President Sharon Fraser says that the situation is unfortunate.
That is what is so sad. So sad, because here you have a very talented doctor, obviously with good management skills, and based on the endorsement that she's getting, seem to work well with the people around her in this fight, which very well have had some impact on the results that we're seeing. I feel that, in fact, she is a victim in all of this, and I surely would not have wanted to be in her position, because then my hard work, my professionalism, my ability to manage is being looked at through the wrong lens, instead of the lens that it should be looking through for what it's worth, right? There are lots of persons who are waiting to shine, just have not been given the opportunity. And here it is that the opportunity was afforded to her, not because, forget what people are saying about Wayne Neame. She has been working, she has been in the trenches. And I feel that some people would have totally ignored that fact of her hard work, her dedication. She was working even when no recognition was being given to her. So that I feel, and that's why I'm disappointed with the way that all of this has been treated, how the whole thing has played out.
As promised, the donation of 1,000 vaccines from Barbados arrived in Belize today via Amerijet just after 7 this morning. The shipment was received by the former acting DHS, Dr. Melissa Diaz-Musa. These vaccines are not a part of the 100,000 plus to be acquired via the COVAX facility, expected in late March or early April. Maternal and Child Health Technical Advisor for the Ministry of Health and Wellness, Dr. Natalia Larga Espada-Bear, says the initial doses arriving today will be given to frontliners from COVID-19 units across the country.
We have a total of 5,000 healthcare workers, public and private sector, and we definitely will start with the first target group, which is the healthcare workers. We don't have enough for all, we know that, so we will start with those working in the COVID units and at the flu clinics, coming in contact with patients every day that may have or have COVID-19. We are starting with 500 persons because 1,000 doses represent 500 persons receiving first and second dose, so we will start with the first 500, and that will start Monday next week.
After the break, visitors signed in and paid to enjoy the water and sea life. But what happened to their fees? Details from the auditor's report on Hull Chan when we return.
On Wednesday, 3rd March 2021, voters of the 9 municipalities will have an opportunity to elect the members to constitute their councils. On your ballot, it is your decision and choice. Exercise it. Be assured that the COVID-19 protocols will be in place for your safe voting. Let your decision be your choice. Voters must properly wear their face mask or other face, nose, and mouth covering, maintain consistent 6 feet social distancing, and sanitize hands before entering the polling station. Having entered the polling station, the voter shows his voter identification card and announces his name in an audible voice. All voters will be required to temporarily remove their face mask or nose and mouth covering for the purpose of verifying the facial identity of the voter. The first poll clerk verifies the particular of the voter on the voters list, while the second poll clerk verifies the particulars in the binder. The voter's name is then ruled off the voters list. The voter is then required to show his right index finger to ensure that he has not yet voted. The voter's right index finger is then sanitized. Allow finger to dry for 5 seconds before dipping it up to the first joint in the indelible ink. The voter is then directed to the presiding officer, who then initials a ballot paper and issues it to the voter, along with a sanitized pencil. The voter then proceeds to the polling booth and marks a cross on the right-hand side of the ballot, opposite the name of the candidates of his choice. With the ballot paper folded to conceal the vote, the voter shows the presiding officer her initials, places the ballot paper inside the ballot box, and then places the pencil in the container for used pencil for resanitization. The voter then exits the polling station. Remember, you are permitted to vote in Belize City for 1 mayor and 10 councillors. In Belmopan City and Towns for 1 mayor and 6 councillors. Disabled, elderly, and pregnant women will be given priority. Electors are encouraged to take along their voter identification card to their polling station to facilitate the process. Your ballot paper will be considered void if it does not have the presiding officer's initials, if the voter has voted for more candidates than there are seats, if the ballot paper is not marked for any candidate, if the ballot paper contains any mark that can identify the voter, and if the ballot paper is unmarked or void for uncertainty. Let your decision be your choice. Always remember to follow all COVID-19 protocols to keep safe. A message brought to you by the Elections and Boundaries Department.
Sangriga needs love. With Team Humphreys, Sangriga deserves development. And the people need love. So make we stay. We hit the best. Sangriga first. So make we Mrs. Humphreys. UDP provide opportunities. Corey Francisco, Alex Joseph, and Aurel Castillo will surely do their best. So make we vote. Just make we vote. Make we stay. 'Cause the only way. Corey Francisco, Tita Bees, Earth Lopez, Aurel Castillo, Lexus, Jake Gongora, with Team Humphreys. Vote for UDP. Dandiga first. So make we vote. Just make we vote. Make we stay. 'Cause the only way.
DG and the National Bank of Belize are proud to partner with the government of Belize to facilitate the disbursement of Belize COVID-19 cash transfer funds via our safe and easy-to-use mobile pays platform. After getting approval that you will be a beneficiary of the relief funds, you will be informed by SMS when your monthly payment has been deposited to your mobile pays account, which Digistore or National Bank branch you were assigned to, and when you can go in to collect. You must bring along the phone that the notification was sent to in order to present your account number and to receive your validation code and SMS receipt. You must also bring along a valid Social Security card. After your information is verified, you will receive a validation code which you are to give to the agent. The agent will hand over the full amount of funds allotted to you for that month, and you will receive an SMS receipt with a unique number for that transaction. Digi and the National Bank of Belize are committed to the development of innovative services for the benefit of all Belizeans.
In response to COVID-19, the government of Belize has implemented strict guidelines on persons to practice social distancing to reduce the spread and risk of getting COVID-19. Practicing social distancing is when one maintains a greater than usual distance away from another person. In public health, it is a practice to prevent sick persons from coming in close contact with healthy people. Recent studies are showing that social distance of 3 feet or more decreases the exposure of COVID-19. Before these restrictions, a person with COVID-19 could infect 2.5 persons in 5 days, 406 persons in 30 days. When you put into practice measures to reduce the exposure activities by half of that one infected person, in 5 days you would possibly only infect 1.25, 30 days, 15 persons. Reduce the exposure of that infected person by 75%, in 5 days you infect 0.625, in 30 days 2.5 persons. Remember, the virus does not move on its own, people move it. The more space between you and others, the harder it is for the virus to spread. A health and wellness message from your Ministry of Health.
In partnership with the British High Commission.
Today, the Ministry of Health and Wellness held a media sensitization session at the Radisson on COVID-19 vaccines. Among the issues discussed were the effectiveness of vaccines in a pandemic and resistance by healthcare workers to getting vaccinated. News 5's Dwayne Moody reports.
As Belize anticipates the arrival of its first full-scale allocation of approximately 100,000 doses of vaccines through the COVAX facility, anxiety continues to build about the effectiveness of the vaccine. Several questions come to mind. The most important: can I contract COVID-19 after I take the vaccine? The simple answer is yes, but if you do, the symptoms will be less severe.
For persons that are vaccinated and they come in contact with someone with measles, and by any chance their immune response was not the best, they might get the measles, but very mild, they wouldn't even know they have the measles. And the same thing can happen with COVID-19. We know that they reduce the transmissibility, but there is transmission that can occur. But what they are certain of with all the vaccines, COVID-19 vaccines, is that it reduces the severe illness, hospitalization, and death. So it is COVID-19 vaccine save lives.
Worldwide, many governments have decided that the best way to fight the pandemic is through herd immunity, through vaccination of 70% of the population. In Belize, that's around 242,000 persons. The grouping for which the AstraZeneca's vaccine can be administered is ages 18 years and older, and they make up 58% of Belize's population.
This is just one more disease that will protect us against COVID-19, and it's what the world is saying is that we only can be safe if all of us are safe, and that means beside wearing the mask, beside physical distancing, washing the hands, cleaning down surfaces, stay at home, vaccine will play a big role in reducing the number of COVID-19, especially severe illness and deaths.
And even before the vaccine rollout takes place, there is already resistance from some members of the public. A poll has determined that only 53% of healthcare workers have agreed to be vaccinated whenever the vaccines are made available.
We don't have any polling so far for the general population, but we already started the conversation at district level. The district teams are meeting with their stakeholders and getting the information out on the importance of the uptake of the COVID-19 vaccine. The healthcare workers, right now we are collecting information on their acceptance of the COVID-19 vaccine, which we expect will be high because they are the ones that are in contact with these patients with COVID-19, and they are the ones that are working the extra hours and going the extra mile to provide the regular services plus the services from the COVID units. So the report that I saw earlier with just a subsample of that showed that at least 53% of the healthcare workers are willing to accept the vaccine now. 35% still need a little bit more information, and 12% were saying no.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness has embarked on an information campaign on vaccines. Dwayne Moody for News 5.
In preparation for the vaccine rollout across the country in the coming weeks, a simulation exercise was conducted by the Ministry of Health and Wellness last week. Dr. Natalia Largues Badaber breaks down that process and the gaps identified for setting up vaccination stations outside of a medical facility.
In health facilities is much easier because everything is there, ready. The exercise that we did was working outside of a health facility. What are the different stations that will be needed for the administration of the vaccine? So that resulted with, we had positive results. We identified the gaps in the way how we are planning to set up the outreach and vaccination sites. But for the health facilities, that is easy because it will be done by health facility, by hospital.
It is one of the most popular natural attractions for both Belizeans and visitors. But tonight, it appears that the Ho Chan Marine Reserve is in serious financial trouble. Responding to reports of possible financial impropriety, incoming Minister of Civil Aviation, whose portfolio includes the blue economy, hired the firm of Moore Magana LLP to conduct an audit of the reserve's management. During a virtual press conference from San Pedro, Minister Andrea Perez said the audit revealed that millions of dollars were mismanaged and revenue lost due to poor oversight, lack of proper budgetary procedures, and possibly outright fraud. The disturbing results of the review looked at a 3-year period from January 2017 to March 2020. The numbers are not pretty. During the time frame in question, major capital expenditures increased by $1 million. But according to Paris, there is no paper trail to explain what the money was being spent on. The Marine Reserve's loan obligations now stand at almost $400,000, with overdrafts close to $600,000, split between the Belize and Atlantic banks. The audit indicates some $55,000 in collections will have to be written off, and another $79,000 in collections, which were never pursued, could also be unrecoverable. According to Minister Paris, $845,000 in assets purchased over the last 3 years cannot be verified, and expenses declared by the former executive director and other members of the management team were never authorized by the board. These amounted to close to $40,000. Staff loans were also made, totaling $58,000. Much of this went to the executive director and was due almost a year ago in March 2020. While visitors believed the entrance fees they paid were going to support the reserve, discrepancies between the visitor logs and the actual amounts recorded in the ledgers indicate fraudulent activity to the tune of almost $700,000 in lost visitor fees. An accountant was terminated in relation to this activity, but there was never any legal action taken to attempt to recover this money. In all, the Hull Chan Marine Reserve Auditor's report suggests a grand total of $1,700,000 in documented losses and an estimated $4 million in additional mismanaged funds.
My friends, fellow residents of San Pedro, Ambergis, Key and Key-Carker, these findings are not the result of a witch hunt. They are the direct indication of years of financial abuse and mismanagement by managers and staff carefully selected to be there by the previous UDP administration. It is a pillaging of one of our most sacred and beloved treasures here in San Pedro and the country on a whole. My presentation here today is the song of war against corruption, abuse, and downright robbery. Hull Chan is the first example. There are many more to come.
Police say he beat his common-law wife with a hammer in December, but tonight his attorney has gotten him out on bail. Just days before Christmas, it is alleged that Joel Bardales used a hammer to beat Sydney Tutt, a mother of 4 children, in her face, breaking some facial bones. Now, Bardales, who is charged with wounding, aggravated assault, and harm, and who was also hurt in the fight, has promised that he will not go near Tutt's home, nor will he interfere with her personally or through anyone else. Tutt's statement to police is that Bardales returned to their Alta Vista home in Sand Creek on December 23rd, and they got into a fight when she packed her clothes and told him she was heading to Placencia. Tutt claims that Bardales grabbed her by the hair and slammed her into something until she lost consciousness. How the allegation of assault with a hammer was founded will be a matter to be ventilated during the trial. Bardales, who is the father of at least one of Tutt's children, suffered knife wounds during the altercation and was admitted to the hospital. His medical legal form shows that he suffered cut wounds to the back of the neck, under the chin, and on his forehead. His injuries were classified as wounding. When he was escorted to the Dangriga Magistrates Court before Magistrate Manon Dennison, Bardales was denied bail. On Monday, after spending almost 2 months in prison, attorney Richard Dickey Bradley submitted to Magistrate Dennison that Bardales had been denied his freedom, but he has a job and children to sustain, and that he is promised to stay in San Pedro and away from Tutt. The magistrate granted bail in the sum of $3,000. Bardales is to report to the San Pedro police station every week and must return to the Dangriga Magistrates Court on March 27th. After the break, visitors signed in, and there's much more news after the break, so stay tuned.
With a PUP central government and a PUP Belmopan City Council, united and strong, there will finally be real representation in the Garden City. Our people deserve to be heard. It is time for us to work together and move forward. On March 3rd, vote PUP down the line. Together for Bamapan, together with Plan Belize. Juntos con Plan Belize.
Welcome to Belize Medical Associates. As we embrace the new normal, we aim to do everything possible to ensure that our patients and staff remain safe. We not only ensure that everyone sanitizes upon entrance, but we also do temperature checks and screening, as well as daily sanitization of the entire compound. Your health and safety are paramount. With over 30 years' experience in providing healthcare, we strive to remain the leader in expert quality care by offering over 26 experienced doctors that provide specialist clinics, as well as a fully stocked pharmacy with a qualified and courteous staff that is ready to serve you. You can now refill your prescriptions by sending a photo of it via WhatsApp to 653-1042 and pick up the following day. Or you can take advantage of our curbside pickup service. We boast not only a fully digital imaging center with the most modern technology in our MRI and CT scan services, but also one of the most accurate and efficient laboratory services in Belize with our state-of-the-art instrumentation and qualified personnel. Having recently acquired the Mindray BS480 clinical chemistry analyzer, this fully automated equipment has the capacity to conduct over 500 tests per hour, a first of its kind not only in Belize, but the entire Caribbean. At BMA, we stand ready to serve you. Our ICU and trauma units remain fully equipped and functional as we continue to provide 24-hour emergency care. Call us at 223-0303. We at Belize Medical Associates encourage all to keep the faith and remain vigilant in our fight against this pandemic. We will get through this together. Belize Medical Associates. We do care.
In the first 100 days of the new administration, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Foreign Trade, and Immigration has made great strides in advancing Belize's foreign policy and citizenship and immigration services in support of our national interests. Led by Foreign Minister Eamon Courtney, the Foreign Ministry has conducted high-level meetings with the Foreign Ministers of CARICOM and SICA. Bilateral meetings have been held with the ambassadors from Cuba, the EU, Guatemala, India, Italy, Japan, Mexico, Taiwan, the UK, the US, as well as the OAS, the UN Resident Coordinator, and the UNICEF representative. New ambassadorial and diplomatic appointments were announced to Mexico, the US and the OAS, Taiwan, the UK, Belgium and the EU, Cuba, Guatemala, El Salvador, and the United Nations headquarters. The Ministry continues to stridently support the Ministry of Health and Wellness's efforts to acquire COVID-19 vaccines and other initiatives through engagements with bilateral partners. With the government's strong commitment to climate action and sustainable development, the Ministry facilitated Belize's accession to the International Solar Alliance, an initiative by India and France to drive solar energy innovations in Belize. In the aftermath of Hurricanes Eta and Iota, the Ministry convened the Foreign Assistance Committee to coordinate support from donors to assist families affected by the floods in the form of food and household supplies, and PPEs were sourced for aid workers. The Office of the Agent to the International Court of Justice, in collaboration with its international lawyers, is preparing Belize's counter-memorial, which will strongly assert Belize's claim to all its territory, islands, and seas in accordance with international law. In the area of foreign trade, the Ministry has been equally active. The ministry worked to reach an out-of-court settlement with St. Kitts and Nevis to end the dispute over trade in brown sugar. To secure Belize's access to the
The Statistical Institute of Belize has given its report on the state of Belize's economy. During a virtual presentation today, the SIB shared that the economy contracted by 13.1% during the last quarter of 2020. The SIB's report shows that gross domestic product was down significantly due to a decline of goods and services produced across some of the productive sectors. The primary industries, which include agriculture, hunting, forestry, and fishing, grew by a negligible $0.3 million. The secondary industries of electricity, water, construction, manufacturing, and mining were up overall by a whopping $17.3 million. The tertiary industries took a hit, down by $84.4 million in wholesale and retail trade, hotel and restaurants, transport and communication, as well as government services. Jacqueline Sabal of the SIB tells us how these figures contributed to a downturn in the GDP.
For the fourth quarter months of October to December 2020, Belize produced goods and services totaling $592.6 million. This represents a decrease of $89.6 million, or 13.1%, when compared to the fourth quarter of 2019. Preliminary annual estimates for the year 2020 indicate that goods and services produced totaled $2,475.1 million. This represents a decrease of 14% from $2,880.9 million produced in 2019.
Turning to the trade bulletin, the SIB says that total imports in 2020 stood at $1.6 billion, but it was still down by almost $400 million when compared to 2019. Exports for last year were also down by 11%, or some $46 million, putting the total value of exported goods at $367.8 million. While those figures are from last year, the SIB also shared the trade stats for January 2021. They say that imports are down and the activities at the Corozal Free Zone factored in big time.
In January of this year, Belize imported goods valuing $131.9 million. This represented a considerable 18% decrease, amounting to a drop of almost $29 million when compared to imports of January of 2020. The categories of mineral fuels and lubricants, machinery and transport equipment, and commercial free zones declined markedly during the month. Expenditures on mineral fuels and lubricants dropped by almost 50%, falling from $22.2 million to $11.6 million. Goods meant for the commercial free zones likewise declined by approximately 1/4, down by $6.5 million to $20.4 million, with decreased imports such as clothing and handbags.
And what's up with the price of goods and services in Belize? If you thought that prices felt a little steeper for last January, the SIB says that it's because they were higher by 1% when compared to 2020. Melvin Perez of the SIB breaks down the areas where consumers felt the increases and decreases in costs.
The inflation rate for the month of January 2021 stood at 1%. This means that overall, the cost of regular purchased goods and services increased by 1% in comparison to January of 2020. Looking at the major categories affecting the inflation rate, The food and non-alcoholic beverages category increased by 5.7%. This was the primary category exerting upward pressure on the overall inflation rate. The housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuel category increased by 1.6%. The personal care, social protection, and miscellaneous goods and services category rise by 2.2%, while the transport category decreased by 3.1% and the restaurant and accommodation services category decreased by 12.8%. This resulted in an overall average change of 1% for the all-item consumer price index.
Malaysians who had been hoping the price of gas might not keep rising will be disappointed tonight. The Ministry of Finance has announced the pump price of 3 fuel products will change on Thursday. Premium gasoline will jump by 51 cents from $9.89 to $10.40 per gallon. Kerosene will increase by 29 cents from $6.46 to $6.75 per gallon. Diesel will increase by 42 cents from $9.20 to $9.62 per gallon. And only regular gasoline users have escaped the hikes, with regular holding its position at $9.81 per gallon. According to the Ministry of Finance, these price fluctuations reflect current demand and supply conditions of crude oil in the international petroleum market and changes in the acquisition price of refined fuel products in the countries from which Belize obtains its supplies. When we return, with little fanfare, a new chairman is appointed at the central bank. But he's a familiar face. The latest development up next.
For 13 years, the UDP told all kinds of lies.
They inherited a healthy economy.
The truth is slowly coming out now.
The past Prime Minister told them that whoever took over would be facing a tough situation and decisions will have to be made.
They will never tell you why the government broke, that they hired hundreds of cronies and ghost workers, taking the wage bill from $234 million in 2008 to $684 million in 12 years. Barrow is responsible. Perifete is responsible. Faba is responsible. Belize, we can't forget.
Currently, we're using Smart Elite VoIP calling plan. We use it interbranch, we use it to call outside, and we also use it to call international. It's far cheaper than what we used to have before. Our new PBX box is new. So the PBX is very good because I can call to my Sartaneja branch, I can call to my Kikaker branch, I can call to San Pedro branch, and there's no cost using the PBS. Actually, right now, since we're in different locations, I can call main office from where I am at a no cost using the PBX system. I would recommend it, sure I would, especially the big enterprises who has a lot of employees. There's a lot of reduction in costs, 50% of saving. But that on a year, it's a lot of money that we're saving. Money that we could return to our members, since we give back dividend to our members.
Visit our showroom or call 670-6710 to find out how Smart's corporate plan and PBX systems can benefit your business. Consultation is free.
Love is a connection that should last forever. This February, NextGen is sharing the love with amazing promo deals for everyone. Reconnect or install with NextGen for free. Sign up for our affordable cable and high-speed internet plans and get 1 month free on your acquired service. But that's not all. New and reconnecting customers can now receive 1 month free MyTV subscription when you sign up with us anytime in February. Some restrictions apply. For more information on our promotions and services, contact us at 0800-222-5388 or via our social media platforms. NextGen, powered by Central TV and Internet.
At Benquip, we offer a complete line of Honda products featuring the most trusted and reliable line of motorcycles in Belize. For outdoor and marine recreation, we have Polaris ATVs and UTVs, Volvo Pentamarine Solutions, Honda Outboards, and Best Sport Kayaks. When it's time to service your vehicle or equipment, you can find the brands you trust at BenQuip. We carry a large inventory of Castrol oils, NGK spark plugs, and a full range of cleaning products from Magic. Get power when you need it with trade winds and Honda generators. For those businesses looking for increased productivity and a safe working environment, our proven and respective line of TCM forklifts will not let you down. We also have trimmers and lawnmowers from Honda and Husqvarna, so you can keep your yard and surroundings properly maintained. So visit BenQuip today at 3 miles on the Philip Goldson Highway to get the equipment, parts, and service you need.
Do you know what is the COVID-19 vaccine? The COVID-19 vaccine provides support to help your body develop immunity to the virus that causes COVID-19 without us having to get the illness. It is safe and very effective. How does the COVID-19 vaccine work? Different types of vaccines work in different ways to offer protection. But with all types of vaccine, the body is left with a supply of
The municipal election is exactly 1 week away from today. And as we've been showing you, the political teams are hitting the campaign trails. Today, the UDP slate in Belize City held a virtual launch of its manifesto that they say will bring back Fawee City. Here's a snippet of some of the things they plan to do in the city if they win the election on March 3rd.
This UDP 11 team intends to foster more self-employment initiative via our Entrepreneurs and Small Businesses program. We believe that the people should be given the resourcing and decision-making powers to improve their lives.
We intend to establish an online digital marketplace so that businesses in Belize City will be able to market and sell goods and services they provide on our platform, which will then be broadcasted to potential clients across the country.
We will recruit employees from the talented staff of the Belize City Council to form a community relations unit which will be primarily responsible to establish a stable line of communication between residents and the council. This unit will organize monthly community meetings throughout the city for residents to speak directly to their elected council and management team. It will also seek to register and assist all community service projects and community clubs with their goals and establish partnerships with underfunded schools to expand their extracurricular program by sharing the council's talented human resource.
Meanwhile, a new Elections and Boundaries Commission was sworn in during a brief ceremony today at Belize House, where 5 members, including Chairman Oscar Sabido, were administered the oath of office. Along with a new presiding officer are Orlando Espat, Conrad Lewis, Philippa Griffith-Bailey, and Alberto August. Senior Counsel Sabido takes up the reins from former Chairman Steve Pereira, whose departure from that post came amid harsh criticisms from the Briceño administration. The Central Bank of Belize, the country's chief financial institution, has appointed a new chairman with almost no fanfare, just a quiet update to their website. Former Governor Sidney Campbell returns to Gold Lane as presiding officer of the Central Bank Board of Directors. Campbell served as governor under the Musa administration between 2003 and 2008 before being succeeded by Glenys Aguirre. Joining him on the newly constituted board are Sol Espejo Molina, Neri Matos, and Giacomo Sanchez as members. Financial Secretary Joseph Waite, Governor Joy Grant, and Deputy Governor Marilyn Gardner Usher are all ex officio members, while Kareem Michael is Deputy Governor alternate. The Central Bank Board is the final statutory body to be constituted since the People's United Party took office following the November 11, 2020 general elections. 2 weeks ago, we told you about the termination of the Sugarcane Production Committee manager, Naim Cow, who was fired by Chairman Marcos Osorio. As we previously reported, Cal's predecessor was also sacked at the end of December. And a month after Cal was hired, he too was fired. We'd reached out to Cal at the time of the termination, but he didn't respond. Now he says he wants to give his side of what happened. Cal tells us that police were indeed called because he was reported as being uncooperative, which he denies. He claims he was let go due to a campaign led by Osorio. Here's his version of the story.
The day I was fired, he mentioned some stuff on the interview where I believe it's totally not true. He mentioned that police was not involved, and that's why I sustained my word where it was a setup. Because at the time he fired me, he did it obviously with a lot of business around. The way it was done, it was inappropriate, was not professional, totally not professional. I was not given not even a warning, not even a verbal warning, not even an email or letter warning. He just decided for himself to fire me on the spot because we had some not in agreement for a couple points where he's stating that that's the major issue. Everything was working fine. Everything was going great. It's just that supposedly because of a budget, which I was able to manage, and the day he fired me on the spot, the budget was approved by the stakeholders. And even so, the stakeholders didn't know I was fired on the spot. And on his interview with you, Mr. Andrea, he mentioned that he decided to fire me. So this situation became personal. On my end, obviously, I was shocked.
Chairman Marcos Osorio told News 5 that he didn't want to share details of the termination, but said that the post of the SCPC chair needed someone who can make decisions and not be manipulated by other stakeholders in the sugar industry. And if you have been wondering if business is brisk at the Corozal Free Zone, News 5 will give you the cautiously optimistic report. Stay with us.
Research on the impact of COVID-19 infection on pregnant women is limited. Right now, pregnant women are at higher risk of severe illness than the general population. Pregnancy can affect the way a woman's body handles respiratory infections. If you are pregnant, protect yourself against COVID-19. Wash hands frequently using soap and water for at least 40 seconds. Use alcohol-based hand sanitizer if soap and water are not available. Cover cough or sneeze with tissue and throw used tissue in a bin. Clean and disinfect frequently touched surfaces such as doorknobs, counters, phones, and tablets. Practice physical distancing. Work from home if possible. Avoid contact with anyone who has fever, cough, and cold or flu-like symptoms. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth without first washing your hands with soap and water. If you have fever, cough, and feel extra tired, call 0800-MOH-CARE. Help keep Belize safe.
As one of the largest cable and internet providers in Belize, CBC strives to provide our customers with the highest standards of quality, value, and service in all aspects of cable TV and internet. Monitoring our systems closely, our technicians combine creative planning and state-of-the-art technology with years of experience and training to develop and provide the most reliable and advanced cable and internet service to exceed your expectations. For CBC and our team of talented engineers, technicians, and customer service representatives, delivering less than the very best is never an option.
Es un hecho que puedes obtener servicios ilimitados con Smart. ¿Cansado de que se corte la línea cuando más necesitas estar conectado? Es un hecho que cuando te suscribes al plan de Smart Plus, obtienes llamadas, textos y datos ilimitados. Y también es un hecho que te puedes suscribir con un grupo de 5 miembros al plan Smart Share y hasta 40 miembros al plan Smart Enterprise para llamadas, textos y datos ilimitados. Smart tiene los verdaderos planes ilimitados. Es un hecho. Sé Smart y vive de forma Smart.
Abigail.
Yes, Gran?
Abigail, I can't breathe well.
Granny, we need to go to the hospital to get you checked out.
No! I'm fine.
Yes, Gran, we need to go now to get you treated. Now, before it's too late.
No, 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 no.
Grandma, we need to go for all of us.
No, no, no.
Stop. If you are having flu-like symptoms, please call us immediately for medical guidance. If you have chronic conditions such as diabetes and you are experiencing symptoms such as shortness of breath or chest pain, please also seek medical attention immediately. We lost a lot of people this year. We don't want to lose you too. Please seek help if necessary. Call us at 0800-664-2273. Continue to wear your mask at all times. Keep physical distance when in public and stay at home unless absolutely necessary. This message has been brought to you by the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
After almost a year of inactivity, the Corozal Free Zone was reopened to business on February 1st. That's because a raft of new measures was put in place to ensure that the potential spread of COVID-19 was kept at an extreme minimum. Even with all things in place, however, the customs-free shopping area is still not realizing the profits it once enjoyed before the pandemic struck. In fact, the Corozal Free Zone is not firing on all pistons, with only 20% of shoppers crossing over from Mexico on a weekly basis. News 5's Sani Cayetano visited the northern border today and has a follow-up to our initial story on its reopening.
Since resuming commercial activity at the beginning of the month, traffic at the Corozal Free Zone is still only a trickle. Things are slowly returning to normal at the duty-free shopping space, but local investors are now faced with another challenge. Just across the Subteniente Lopez Bridge at the northern border, another retail district has also been open to Mexican consumers.
I look at it positively. I think that free zone is going to be importing everything from our port of Belize, all the imports from logistical point of view. And one of the ideas, I told them we can work hand to hand, we can have a trade agreement between the two. I think our customer base for the entire Corozal Free Zone is Mexico. With Chetumal Free Zone, we can sell through them in Mercado Libre. Mercado Libre is their version of Amazon. So they can showcase our products on the web, and they have the logistics to ship out and collect, which is impossible for us to do from Corozal Free Zone.
It's a progressive way of viewing competition by forging a partnership that is mutually beneficial for stakeholders on either side of the Rio Hondo. In Belize, however, business is only a fifth of what it once was before the pandemic brought the economy to its knees.
The traffic and the movement of people are staggering. I think because since the pandemic still is quite rampant in Mexico, they are slow but sure. We are experiencing from the highest point when we were at 100% of shoppers, we're at about 20% now. So we're getting in probably 300 to 400 cars a day, which you can say about 3,000 to 4,000 cars a week. With 3 passengers a car, about 11,000 people are visiting the zone, mostly Mexicans.
That figure represents a fraction of the business that ordinarily takes place on a weekly basis at the CFZ. For Vice Chairman Anil Hochandani, today is still better than where it was a year ago when everything ground to a screeching halt.
Something better than nothing. You know, when you have had a situation where you were at zero, you know, businesses totally closed down, zero income, people had to find ways and means to survive. So that has been the situation. When the pandemic hit, remember, I've always said this, the government steps in to help employees. Food packages, social security comes in with financial assistance, social partners come in and try and help out. But for 1 minute, who helps the business community?
Notwithstanding what Hochandani describes as abandonment in a time of need, there is optimism that the Corozal Free Zone will rebound fully, even if it takes a year to get back on its feet.
There's positivity in the air. The Briceño administration has opened the zone successfully, safely, and this has had a substantial benefit for the employees who have gotten jobs in the zone to start.
Now I understand it's like 1/3 of the employee population that is back at work at the Free Zone?
Yes, you have a little over 1,000, 1,035. But if you translate that to money, it's $10 million annually. And if you look at if the whole Free Zone was to come back to 100% of employment, we would be at 40 million in salaries, remunerations, and you add another 10-15 million of social fee that the Free Zone, that the government earns by way of social fee. We are half a $50 to $60 million Belize dollars annually to the GDP from the Northern Free Zone.
For now, that contribution to Belize's gross domestic product by way of peak economic activity at the Free Zone remains a distant target. Reporting for News 5, I am Isani Cayetano.
And that's the news. Tonight's broadcast is available in both text and streaming video at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at News 5 Live. I'm Marlene Cuellar. Thanks for joining us. And from all of us here at News 5, please remember to wash your hands, keep your social distance, and stay safe. Good night.